I think we're entering a whole new paradigm in the business community and how they think about water and how they value water. I mean, traditionally, in almost every place we can think of, the business community has typically been preferenced with cheap, abundant water, even in places where water hasn't been that abundant. So CFOs of major corporations, when they're looking at their financial statements, water is not coming up as a significant cost driver. It is really a de minimis cost traditionally. And I think that is changing slowly in some places where we're seeing the price of water, especially the price of industrial water, go up. But it's not happening fast enough for that to be the motivator. What I think has become more of the motivator, and certainly we've been working with the investment community to help them ask these questions of companies, but it's the fact that these shortages are going to lead to decisions by politicians around who gets the water. Increasingly, companies are afraid they won't be on the favorable end of that decision. And we know, there have been many examples of companies losing their access to water because of concerns by communities. Coca-Cola, the story of Coca-Cola in India is certainly been repeated often. It is certainly a story that, where concerns by community in southern India led them to have to shut a bottling plant. The company still feels very strongly that they were not responsible for the pollution and the over-abstraction issues that were raised in that community, but it nevertheless led to a global campaign. It led to significant damage to their brand, and the company in turn has very much internalized what this means as a business. The highest offices in that company are thinking about water as one of their most strategic risks. In the past 10 years have invested at least $2 billion in water efficiency projects within their own operations globally, but also investing heavily in projects around their plants, really thinking about the watershed and putting dollars and partnerships in place to help restore rivers, to help replenish groundwater. It's become a real part of their business model. And I think that's something we're seeing here in California as well. There are companies that, not necessarily because of outside pressure, but because they see that their business livelihood is completely tied up with the future of water in California. Driscoll's Berries, which is based out of Watsonville, is one of the largest berry producers in the whole world, is a really interesting example of a company that looked out and saw what a tremendous risk they're facing in terms of the groundwater that they depend on in the Central Valley. Or excuse me, not in the Central Valley, in the Central Coast Aquifer in the Pajaro Valley. And they have, their CEO, Miles Richter, who's third-generation farmer, grandson of the founder of the company, really took a look and said, if we don't get a handle on the groundwater depletion that is associated with the agricultural production, the berry production in our area, there will be no future here. And they've played an instrumental role in bringing together the growers, the landowners, and other parties that have traditionally been at each other's throats in that area, regulators, conservation groups, to come up with a plan and working really directly hand in hand with farmers to help them be much more efficient with water use, to help recharge aquifers, and to really look forward to how they can chart a future going, in the context of obviously the worst drought this state's ever seen.